So this video started when I made a deck video, one of my many deck videos, whether it was budget or power, I can't remember. But someone on the Discord commented and said, it's kind of funny how you put Faithless Looting in the card draw package. And then I looked at Faithless Looting and I was like, oh yeah, you do kind of lose a card off Faithless Looting. But then that made me think, well, Faithless Looting is card draw, it's just not card advantage. And then I looked at my Discord's whole discussion about this putting Faithless Looting into card draw package thing, and it got a response. We had people throwing in the words card draw and then card advantage and then card fixing like almost interchangeably. And while reading through them, I was like, oh, there's actually a serious issue with defining these different things in the game. And then when I went to Google and typed in Scryfall, card advantage, guess what comes up on the list? Faithless Looting. Not card draw, by the way. Card advantage. Faithless Looting comes up. Card advantage, for those of you that don't know, means you are getting more cards in your hand than what you started with by playing the card. Faithless Looting, you're losing a card. So even the big organizations like Scryfall cannot get these definitions straight and just throw stuff like Faithless Looting onto the card advantage section. So my goal today is to give you 3 definitions that you can start using when deck building that will grossly improve how much fun you're having deck building. It will open up slots in your deck, and it will help you understand how to help your decks run efficiently and help you understand card draw, most important. Before we get into the definitions, I want to talk about why this is so confusing in the first place, because it's not just newer players getting tripped up. This has genuinely been a blurry space in Magic since the early days of the game. You gotta remember, Magic the Gathering has been around for over 30 years. In that time, the language players have used kind of evolved organically, meaning people started using shorthand, the shorthand caught on, and over time the shorthand started meaning different things to different people. Card draw is one of the biggest casualties of this process. It gets even murkier when you start looking at cards that don't use the word draw at all, but clearly give you access to more resources. Think about Prosper Tomebound, for example. Every time you cast a spell from exile, you make a treasure token, and exile the top card of your library each turn to cast later. No card is drawn, but you're absolutely seeing more of your deck and getting more stuff to play, more value, more resources. Is that card draw? What about Gonti, Lord of Luxury, who steals cards off the top of your opponent's deck? Is that card draw? What about commanders like Muldrotha, who let you play cards out of your graveyard every single turn? Is that card draw? Technically, no, but it gives you what feels like card draw, and I think a lot of people aren't considering that, so let's define some of these. So let's move into the first definition that I'm giving you guys. Definition 1, card draw. In the strictest, most technical sense, card draw is any effect that uses the word draw on the card and causes you to draw one or more cards. That's it. That's the rules text definition. When you draw a card in Magic, you're literally taking the top card of your library and you're putting it into your hand. That's governed by the game's comprehensive rules. If a card says draw a card and you've drawn more than one, and you've drawn one or more cards, it is card draw. Why does this technical distinction matter? Well, because some cards interact with you drawing cards, so it does matter for some of your draw card package to contain cards that all say draw, because they might interact with other pieces in your deck. Your card draw package would include cards like Looters, named after the card Merfolk Looter, which lets you draw a card and then discard a card. It would include Rummaging Effects, which lets you discard a card and draw a card. Both of these are card draw in the technical sense. Both of them include the word draw, cause you to draw a card. These would go in your card draw package. But what about card advantage? Well, we got a definition for that too. In its simplest form, card advantage is math. You play a card and you end up with more cards than you started with in your hand. Let's say you play a divination, for example. You cast it, that's -1 from your hand. You draw 2 cards, that's +2. Net result, +1 card, that's card advantage. So card advantage, much like card draw, are containing cards that have the word draw, but they have you drawing multiple cards. They have you getting a net positive with the amount of cards in your hand, which leads us into our third definition, card usage. All right, here's where things get really interesting, and honestly, this is the definition I'm most proud of because it's one I developed out of a necessity when my old framework stopped working. Card usage. Here's the definition. Any card or effect that lets you access and play cards that are not currently in your hand. Yes, this includes our card draw. Yes, this includes our card advantage, but it includes so much more. Impulse draw. This is when a card exiles off the top of your library and you can use it for a limited window, usually until the end of your turn or until the end of the next turn. Cards like Reckless Impulse, Light Up the Stage, or Outpost Siege all do this. Importantly, these cards do not use the word draw, so technically, by the rules definition, you didn't draw anything. But you just got to cast a card that wasn't in your hand. That's absolutely card usage. Cards that use your graveyard as a resource are also card usage. Flashback, Escape, Unearth, Aftermath, Retrace, commanders like Muldrotha. All of these mechanics let you access cards from your graveyard as if they are in your hand. In decks built around the graveyard, this can effectively double your hand size over the course of a game. A card like Kervek the Punisher, letting you cast black spells from your graveyard whenever you commit a crime, is giving you graveyard access as a consistent engine. Absolutely card usage. Playing cards from your opponent's libraries is a great form of card usage. Gonti, Lord of Luxury, Atali, Primal Conqueror, any theft effect that lets you access cards out of someone else's deck and cast them. You didn't draw those cards, they weren't a part of your deck, but you got to use extra cards, resources, and advantage. That's absolutely card usage. Manifest, other top of library effects like Future Sight. Cards like Abhorrent Oculus have Manifest Dread. They let you exile the top of your the top 2 cards of your library, put 1 into your graveyard, 1 into play face down as a 2/2, and if the 2/2 is a creature, you can flip it for its mana cost. Cards in Grave, cards in Field, both of which you didn't see before, absolutely card usage. But why does this category matter? Well, because when I was only thinking about card advantage and card draw, I kept feeling like my decks didn't run enough of either, but they were playing great. So what was I missing? What I was missing was that I had stuffed my decks with card usage effects. They were keeping my game plan running, letting me play extra things during each turn, and keeping my entire focus of my deck on track. Redefining this tag as card usage also solved a deck building labeling problem for me. Before, I would try to jam cards like Gonti into my card draw package, but that felt weird because Gonti doesn't draw cards. It's also not drawing cards from my deck to advance my strategy. It's a theft card. It just felt weird to put it in the card draw package. Now Gonti has a home in the card usage package, right alongside Prosper and Muldrotha, and everything else that gives me access to cards I shouldn't otherwise have. Okay, let's put this framework to work. I want to walk through my Taval deck before and after I applied these categories because I think seeing a real example is much better than just hearing me talk about it. So before I relabeled anything, here's what my deck looked like from a resource perspective. I was running 9 pieces of what I called card draw. That's it, 9. On paper, that sounds really light. When people talk about commander deck building, they probably want you to run more around 10 to 14 card draw pieces. Sometimes more. So looking at that number, I kept thinking my deck was under-resourced, but it was playing fine. Better than fine, actually. So what was going on? Well, I applied this card draw, card advantage, and card usage tag framework, and everything clicked. So after we applied these tags, as far as card advantage was concerned, cards that will put more cards in my hand than opponents, I was running 9 cards. These included cards like River Kelpie, which would turn all my stuff leaving graveyard into card draw, or cards like Ripple of Undeath, which would let me mill and pick the best one each of my turns and put it into my hand. Past this, we now have a card draw tag. I included everything that has the word draw on it, including my looter effects that I run in the deck. So as far as card draw effects, I have 12. I run 3 looting style effects on top of the 9 card advantage effects we talked about before. And then comes the card usage tag. This is where it gets wild. I have 18 total card usage pieces in the deck. 18. Cards like Abhorrent Oculus that we already talked about. Kervek, letting me cast out a graveyard. All my reanimation effects, letting me play big things from the yard. All of a sudden, a deck that looked thin on card draw on paper actually has 18 different ways to access cards from outside my hand. That's really not a deck that's starving for resources. I just wasn't seeing it because I was using the wrong labels. And here's the insight that really got me. Card advantage and card usage aren't competing with each other. It's not like if you run an opt, it's like, oh, you should really take opt that opt for like a mind spring or a quick study. They work together. The more card usage effects you have, the more cards you're cycling through. The more cards you're seeing, the more likely you are to draw into your card advantage pieces when you need them. Card usage increases your effective deck velocity. It's the engine that makes the card advantage more accessible. So here are my new deck building recommendations for you. As far as card advantage is concerned, cards that will actually put cards in your hand to get you more cards than your opponents and increase your hand size, aim for 6 to 8 dedicated pieces. As far as card draw is concerned, you want to be sitting at 10 to 12 pieces, but don't worry, these all include your card advantage as well. So if you're already sitting at 8 card advantage cards, you're only going to need to add 4 card draw spells. These are any cards that say the word draw on them. Cantrips, looters, all of it. And then finally, card usage. Aim for 13 to 18 total card usage cards. And again, these include all your card draw and all your card advantage cards, so it's not like you're adding tons and tons of cards here. Card usage is the full picture for how your deck plans to access resources. Every reanimation piece, every exile and cast effect, every way you interact and use cards outside of your hand counts here. So the point is, think about your whole deck as a resource machine. So if you played the game for a while, I'm hoping that there was a couple things in the video that you're like, hey, that's pretty cool, I'll go try that out. And if you're new to the game, I feel like this video is going to be very, very useful for you to understand card advantage, all that stuff. And just stick to some of these definitions, you know? That's kind of the real point of this video, is I am requesting we stick to some of these definitions. Card draw, any card that lets us draw 1 or more cards. Card advantage, any card that lets us draw multiple cards to fill up our hand bigger than it was before. And card usage, any card that lets us use cards outside inside of our hand. That's it. Those are the 3 definitions, and you should make those 3 categories on your deck, throw all the cards that fit into those categories, and I think you'll find out, hey, maybe I'm able to cut some of this card advantage because I run so much card usage effect. That's actually what ended up happening with my Taval deck. I found a couple pieces I was able to cut from the card usage so that I could add some more bombs to it. So, bit of a weird video. I'll be the first to say it. Not my normal type of video. I was just talking to my brother about card draw the other day, and then I read that comment the other day on Discord, and all of it kind of conglomerated into me being like, card draw is a little confusing. We should redefine some of these things and lock in those definitions. So lock in those definitions. Let me know down below if you have noticed anything in your decks after using these definition and tags. Send me some of your deck list down in the description with using these tags, because I would love to take a peek. If you want to go check out the nixlotus.com website and use our Scryfall search tool, that would be great. Or you can head over to the merch page and you could check out the Teneb the Harvester Reanimation sweatshirt that you could buy and rock the reanimation station on your clothes. We've also got community decks there, so if you want to click on the community decks tab, you can go ahead and look through all the community decks that have been submitted. If you want to show some extra support, you can head over to patreon.com or the YouTube members page to start throwing me $1 a month. It helps me out a ton. Big shout out to all the people you can see on screen. And consider clicking one of these 2 videos, as YouTube thinks you might like one of them. I will see you guys next time. Peace.